Well, just days into his second term as president, Donald Trump signed an executive order aimed at ending automatic birthright citizenship for children born in the U.S. if either parent is a U.S. citizen or lawfully permanent resident. Then last month, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a ruling which allowed the executive order to potentially take effect on July 27th in states not legally challenging it. This now has many people wondering what exactly is going to happen when this order begins to kick in. Joining us now is locally based attorney Giovanni Diaz, who's handled hundreds of deportation cases in his time as a lawyer. Giovanni, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
All right, let's get started with the basics here. How strong is the legal foundation for the birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment?
Well, I think most legal scholars feel like the executive order doesn't have really good standing. I think the issue is they're trying to make a distinction between two terms that are within the 14th Amendment, and that specific clause of the 14th Amendment, right, which says naturally born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And I think the issue is they're trying to make a distinction that if you're born to parents who aren't subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, then you aren't a U.S. citizen. But as we all know, especially seeing out in the open, that the undocumented immigrants are clearly subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. We've seen them detained, arrested. They've always been charged criminally. They are also required to abide by just about every law in the United States. May it be criminal, may it be civil. So, to make the argument that they're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, I think most legal scholars feel that they're not going to win that argument, and that ultimately the plaintiffs in these cases will ultimately prevail.
Yeah. Does this new executive order have power to override that?
I don't think so. I think right now there's the Supreme Court decision that came down late in June. It kind of made it a little bit more difficult for plaintiffs to bring suits against the executive order in the federal government. But very quickly after that, using sort of the guidance of the Supreme Court, there was another nationwide injunction issued. So right now there is a nationwide injunction on the executive order. Up to now, although, the Supreme Court has sort of weighed in on some of the procedural issues, we haven't had a decision by the Supreme Court yet of the merits of the case. So I think most legal scholars, again, feel like once it gets to the merits of the case, that the plaintiffs will ultimately prevail, and the 14th Amendment will continue to provide citizenship for people born here in the United States.
All right. Attorney Diaz, for the families that you represent, what kind of fear or confusion are they expressing right now?
Well, initially when the Supreme Court decision came down late June, people were asking, where is it that I could, where is it recognized? I mean, it basically threw the entire system of birthright citizenship into chaos. And frankly, I think that's part of the plan and the goal of the administration, right? Chaos causes fear, fear causes mistrust, people lose motivation, people start to consider self-deportation. So it's very, very clear that, that there's a possibility that prevailing really isn't the ultimate goal, that the ultimate goal is to cause chaos and to make people feel less uncomfortable to be here, cause doubt, and make people reconsider wanting to be here in the United States, which frankly, me on a personal level sounds pretty bad.
Yeah. Speaking of chaos, if some states have it and other states don't, what type of chaos will that create?
Oh yeah, I mean it's obvious. What kind of people won't be sure whether or not they're U.S. citizens based on the region or the place that they're born. And I mean, some of my colleagues have even considered advising people to consider where you ultimately have children if that's a concern for you. So I don't think we're at that point yet, and I think ultimately that's a consideration that the Supreme Court will make. Right, yeah. The Supreme Court. With the chaos that this is ultimately creating, with the confusion within the states, hopefully the Supreme Court will eventually end the debate.
Gotcha. All right. Giovanni Diaz, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for your insight.